So after almost 8 years of waiting, we finally have a trailer for Metroid Prime 4. We can finally confirm that Metroid Prime 4 is real. We didn't hallucinate it. And now that we finally have some actual footage to go off, it's time to analyze every single frame from the trailer until the game comes out, hopefully in 2025. But did you know that we basically already know the major gameplay mechanic and some story stuff? There was an interview with the Prime lead producer Kensuke Tanabe 9 years ago, and that outlines the premise of Prime 4 before development even started. And thanks to the new trailer we just got, most of his points got confirmed. First, let's go through the trailer and see the gameplay changes we can find, then transition into the story and timeline of events. I think I have a pretty good theory that ties the logo, Sylux and the world together, so stay tuned for that and let's jump straight into it. But before we do that, remember that this is a very new and small channel and I would appreciate it if you would leave a like and subscribe for more Metroid content. Thank you. It starts off with Samus landing with her ship on an unknown planet that has a Galactic Federation research facility. It is already important to note that this is the same ship she had during Metroid Prime 3 with a heavy graphical update. And even though we see Samus emerge from the top of the ship, we can also clearly see that the main entrance shaft still exists here and she could have used it instead, but she wanted to make a big entrance without landing the ship. This ship has only appeared in Prime 3 and Federation Force before. It is one of 5 ships that Samus actually uses throughout the series, but the significance of it will be discussed later in the story section. Now we get to see a better look at Samus, and even though she appears to look similar, her warrior suit actually changed a bit. The shoulder pads are slimmer, the neck is more pronounced, and the helmet is also looking a tiny bit slimmer, and the design looks overall less bulky. Even these little side nubs are sticking out less. Samus' suit doesn't usually change just for fun and it stays consistent for most of the games except Other M, but Other M has other problems too. So is this just a fun redesign to make things look fresher, or could there be more to it? I'll get into that later too. Anyways, I think this is obviously the very beginning of the game. Like in Prime 1 and 3, we will be having some sort of prologue to get the story started, and this section might be this version's Frigate Orpheon or Norion. We even get the same first person zoom in into Samus' helmet like in Prime 1. And here we see the HUD for the first time. We have the life bar, the missile count and the danger level icon returning. The map got a significant change however. Not only does it include a compass now, it also looks flattened like a 2D depiction. The old Prime games had the 3-dimensional map here and it was kind of hard to get a grasp sometimes, especially when rooms overlapped. Now I wonder if that is just the case for this small map display here, or if the actual map was also changed. While this would make reading the map easier, it could also limit the environment's vertical design. Next we see that the enemy radar also has a few new upgrades. It now not only shows the enemy targets, but also companion targets with green. We had companions already in Prime 3, but they were never on the radar. I wonder if we will also get a lot of voice work in Prime 4 like in 3, because I actually really enjoyed these small expositions into other hunters and humans before jumping back into the isolation. They also added an indicator for the enemy that you are currently targeting. The biggest change is what we actually don't see. The visor select seems to have been removed in favor of a missile select. There doesn't seem to be a beam select either. Prime 3 stacked beam upgrades, so this could be a sign that this feature is returning. As for the visors, we clearly see that the scan visor returned, but we don't get to see the button that needs to be pressed. My guess is that this function might have been moved into another button like L or R, or maybe even R3 and L3, which happens when you press the stick in. The problem with this solution is that this doesn't give them much room for different visors. Visors have always played an important role in Prime games, so I don't think we will only have the scan visor. So maybe there's a visor select if you hold the button long enough and the quick press is just automatically the scan visor, but we won't know until later. Let's go back to the missile select for a second. I really don't think this is just gonna be 4 missile types and that's it. Yes, they theoretically can fill all 4 slots with ice missiles, seeker missiles and super missiles, but that seems kind of lame. Also, the text specifies missile launcher, which would include every missile upgrade anyways. So what if this selection here allows you to gain completely other weapon types? You know, kinda like Metroid Prime Hunters. There you can gain sub-weapons from other hunters, including Sylux, who we later see in the trailer. His shock coil drained energy from targets, and there was also stuff like the Volt Driver, Battle Hammer and many more that all had unique attacks. They could also be used in many different puzzles. I think it is super likely that this feature will return in this game and I'm super excited. As the final UI related feature, we can look at the new Scan Visor UI. It appears to function more like the improved Prime 3 visor that softly highlights scannable objects in a color instead of Prime 1's scan icon approach or Prime 2's completely saturated colors. But now, for whatever reason, it appears that this pirate was colored green before the scan and then becomes grey after the scan. In prior games, the scannable objects were color coded blue and red and turned green when you finished the scan. I guess it's something I will have to get used to. Anyways, the scan animation is completely new and looks clean, and the duration seems to be the same as the other games. That's basically it. Let's return to the actual gameplay. It appears we are in the middle of a fray between the Space Pirates and the Galactic Federation. Space Pirate ships, as seen in Prime 3, are attacking in real time. The whole beginning section here reminds me a lot of Norian in Prime 3 of course. The combat seems to have stayed the same mostly. Strafing is back, charge shots and missiles functions the same too. We then also see Samus morphing into her morph ball, and while it appears to be quicker than the other games, you could generally say that the movement in combat looks exactly the same as it did in the other games. Not even her movement speed really changed. Now I personally don't think they've shown us everything. In a scripted cutscene later, we see Samus dodge in a roll, and her new sleek design would also allow her to move more freely like that. So I wonder if we will get more movement stuff down the line. I mean, they kinda spoiled us with Dread's movement. A melee move, a slide and a dodge would fit perfectly into her moveset and make the game feel significantly better as well. And while we have nothing confirmed yet, I do think they are still hiding their cards for this game, plus new items could also improve our movement a ton. Let's continue with the trailer. In the Morphal section, we can see how the pirates are planning on bombing the door open, and as we transition into the next room, we can see that it worked and they engage in combat with the GF soldiers. We can also see a few unarmed people fleeing with something that looks like the pirates may be after. While we are at it, the 3 bomb limit is back, and there's also an unavoidable energy tank in our way once again. Hey, energy tanks confirmed I guess. In this next shot, we can actually see Samus take a hit, but our energy doesn't deplete. I don't think this is some kind of hidden shield mechanic or whatever, it's probably only a death build and they had God mod on for the trailer. We also never see an energy or missile drop, so it's obviously not the final version of the game. But here we actually get a better look at the Space Pirates. They resemble their appearance from Prime 2 the most. The Space Pirates had very inconsistent designs throughout the games. They even differ in Prime 1 and 3 significantly. Not to mention their mainline 2D appearance that looked something like this. These were also specified as Zabesians, which implies that they were native to Zabes. But then there's also the Space Pirate Homeworld in Prime 3 that throws that idea out of the window. As far as we know, space pirates are most likely not one specific race, but an organization of different species. I know the name kinda gives it away, but the Metroid lore can be very conflicting, but we will get into that soon with the story stuff. Talking about story stuff, here is Sylux. We don't know much about him, except that he absolutely hates the Galactic Federation and Samus by association. He has been on our minds ever since Prime 3 teased him following Samus, and now he appears to be working with the Space Pirates to get whatever they were searching for. He not only has Space Pirates by his side, but also Moktroids. Yes, these are not Metroids. Metroids have 3 brain/energy cells, even the babies. These here have only one cell and are a failed experiments of the Zebesian space pirates to recreate Metroids. While they can still drain energy, they are very easy to defeat with normal weapons. These only officially appeared one time during Super Metroid. I say officially because funnily enough, the only time they appeared outside of Super was in a demo for Prime Hunters, and only in the demo. Hunters was also the game that Sylux was introduced to us. They are playing some 4D chess here with us. Now we finally get to see the logo revealed. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. There's even some stuff to analyze here. The actual background of the logo is shaped like a black hole. The significance of the logo and the subtitle Beyond is not clear right now, but the Prime games usually have very fitting subtitles. Metroid Prime was of course the name of the final enemy in Metroid Prime 1, Prime Hunters introduced other hunters, and Echoes or Dark Echoes as it is known in Japan is a play on Dark Ether and also the Echovisor system that the Illuminati created. Prime 3 Corruption is of course because of the Phazon corruption in the world, the hunters and even Samus herself. So it is clear that the title will be significant and we actually already know why. Before we talk about the interview, let's look at the final shot of the trailer. Not only does the game look gorgeous, it might also reveal our main hub world with the big tree in the middle, reminding me a lot of the Sky Temple from Prime 2. Maybe the game is structured like Prime 2 in a way where we visit other parts of the planet from here and come back to it afterwards. I would actually really like that because Prime 2's structure was really good. So here comes the interview with Kensuke Tanabe to play. He did an interview with Eurogamer in 2015 after the release of Federation Force, where he dropped some massive hints for Prime 4. This was even before Prime 4 or the Switch was announced, by the way. He said if they would make a Prime 4, it would basically have to be on Switch, then known under the codename NX. And then he proceeds to basically confirm a ton of features for Prime 4. He said that he wants to bring Sylux back and focus on the Galactic Federation plot. And also that he plans on focusing on a single planet again, with the main mechanic being time travel. We do see at the very beginning of the last clip what appears to be a portal of some sort. We have seen similar portals in Prime 2 and 3. In 3 they work like warp points that teleported you to far locations, but in 2 they worked as a gate between light and dark ether, two sides of the same planet. Now if we really only play on a single planet and it is truly structured like Prime 2, then could these portals fulfill a similar role? I could definitely see a past/future mechanic at play here. A black hole can be associated with time travel because of its event horizon where time and space flows differently, and Beyond can also be closely related to time when used in a conversation. What if this is the same planet as the one from the beginning, but in a distant past, and some catastrophic event caused it to become a desolate planet? Could this tie into the plot of the game as well? I will discuss this later, but I think it is finally time to jump into the story analysis now. I think it's a good idea to explain who Sylux is first. As I explained earlier, we don't really know much about him. His first appearance was in Prime Hunters, where he was looking for the Omega Cannon. He is the only hunter that is listed as an unknown species. He appears to be from the planet Sylux. Even though he absolutely hates the Galactic Federation, he uses their armor and weapons. And after we best him in Hunters, we know that he appears to be following Samus around as seen at the secret ending from Prime 3. That was the only thing we had to go off for years to come, but then Federation Force gave us another tidbit. That secret ending had Sylux sneak into the Federation base and steal a baby Metroid. That would probably explain why he had two Morgtroids in Prime 4. He probably tried to clone the Metroids and ended up with the same outcome as the Space Pirates. But wait, what if I tell you that he could have also been responsible for the failed clones in Super Metroid? Because now we have to discuss the timeline of events, and that is not as clear as you might think. The current timeline of events looks something like this. Zero Mission is the first game to happen. Then between Zero Mission and Samus Returns, the entirety of Prime 1, Prime Hunters, Prime 2, Prime 3 and Federation Force plays out in that order. It packages every Prime right between these first two 2D games. Because Samus Returns causes a chain reaction that leads into the other games. Samus kills every Metroid on SR388 and finds the baby Metroid. She gives it to a research facility that is raided by Ridley, and she follows him back to Zebes. There, Super Metroid takes place where the baby dies. In Other M, we learn that part of the Galactic Federation used the remaining particles of the Metroid to recreate Metroids in secret, plus a ton of other bad bioweapons. That point is further confirmed in Fusion, but Samus gets infected by the X and has to absorb Metroid DNA to survive. After Fusion, we learn that eradicating the Metroids on SR388 also had another bad side effect, because Ravenbeak wanted to use them but is now looking for us because we are the only ones left with Metroid DNA. And then Dread closes the saga with Samus becoming more like a Metroid in human form, but she can restrain it in the end. So you would think it would be pretty easy to just put Prime 4 again just after Federation Force and before Samus Returns to have a clean timeline. Well, I didn't mention it, but we had a time frame for a few games. The beginning of the trailer states that Prime 4 takes place in the year 20x9. The only other confirmed dates we have for the Metroid timeline is 20x5 when Zero Mission takes place, 20x6 when Federation Force takes place, and then 20x7 when Super Metroid takes place. That would suggest that Prime 4 does indeed play 2 years after Super Metroid. And yes, the entirety of the Prime saga, except 4, takes place within a year. Samus sure was busy, okay? But if we assume that Prime 4 takes place 2 years after Super Metroid, where does it fit? As we don't have any other confirmed dates for Fusion and Dread, it could very well play out after Other M that plays directly after Super, but hear me out. 2 years after Super is a long time to be doing nothing. What if I suggest to you that Prime 4 is actually the latest game in the Metroid timeline? Stop, I can hear you typing right now. The suit, bro, she has the Varia suit. Did you forget that she lost it in Fusion and had to wear the Fusion suit? No, I didn't forget. But did you see how her suit recovered a bit in Dread? She still has fleshy strings, but most of the armor actually returned to look more like her old Varia suit. What if she recovers even more until Prime 4 and her suit gains most of the armor back? Remember when we talked about how the new armor looks a tiny bit different in Prime 4 than in the other games? I said that she looked a lot slimmer in many areas, and even tiny details like the nubs on her legs are not sticking out as much. We can boil it down to just being a creative change so that she can look fresh in a new game. But if they wanted to retcon the Prime armor to look even better, they could have done that with the Prime remaster that just released last year. Samus' suit design is normally consistent between games. They really only changed it in Other M, and that didn't stick around. I think rather than a redesign just for fun, it could actually be a new suit design because it is the recovered Varia suit after Fusion and Dread happened. Dread also happens to have this newly animated opening sequence that retells the story of Fusion, where we can clearly see that she still has the old Varia design. So putting Prime 4 between Super and Fusion could be possible, but I'm betting that it actually plays after Dread and is the most current event in the timeline. Now there's a second person typing, I can hear it. What about the ship though? Isn't this the Prime 3 and Federation Force ship? She totally has a different ship in Fusion and Dread. Then I ask you, why does she never use the ship again when it actually works just fine? It never got destroyed. Samus' first ship gets destroyed in Zero Mission, Then she gets the iconic gunship in Samus Returns, Super Metroid and Other M, before it crashes in Fusion, and she gets the new purple starship. But Prime is a bit difficult to place, because even the first ship you see in Prime 1 and Hunters is classified as a different gunship. Then Prime 2 has the iconic normal gunship, and then Prime 3 and Federation Force just gave her a new ship just for fun. I don't want to dive deep into the problems with the Prime continuity, but basically the Prime games are handed over to a Western-based studio named Retro Studios. That's why there are so many different types of space pirates as well. Prime 1 had also a ton of story inaccuracies that had to be fixed in the Prime Trilogy re-release to better fit into the timeline. Yoshio Sakamoto, the lead producer of the Metroid series, once said in an interview that he considered letting the Prime games be a side story, but he felt like it wasn't fair to do that and ultimately fit them between Metroid 1 and 2. Since then, he made an effort to combine the Prime and the main games more obviously by putting Proteus Ridley in Samus Returns, as he is a recurring enemy in the Prime series. Now back to the ship question. Does it make sense that she would use the Prime 3 ship in Prime 4 if it takes place after Dread? Yes and no. Samus's new ship has the Adam AI, but it could also just be transferred to the new ship if necessary. The old ship could be in repairs or something happened to it during the beginning of the game. Maybe they thought it would be neat if she kept the ship from the Prime series, or maybe they didn't want us to connect the dots that easily. What do you think? Do you think I'm onto something, or do you think they will just stick it after Super Metroid and before Fusion? Let me know in the comments. So what could be the general plot of the game? In the same interview we already talked about, Tanabe confirmed that the Phazon and Dark Samus storyline is done. He wants to focus on Sylux's story, and all that we know of him is that he hates the Galactic Federation and that he stole a baby Metroid. Now we see him join forces with the space pirates and Moktroids that he cloned and attack this research facility to probably steal some technology. Remember that even though he hates the GF, he actually uses their armor and weapons, and because his species is unknown, he could actually just be a former GF soldier who has been wronged by the Federation that ignited his hatred. We know that there's a really shady part in the Federation that wants to create bioweapons and recreate Metroids. If this truly takes place at the end of the timeline, it would make so much more sense, because this game could be the beginning of the new saga that is the fight against the Galactic Federation. If it plays after Fusion and Dread, Samus knows that you can't trust what the GF says. This can be Samus's tipping point to turn against the GF. And I think Sylux's story will be an important step to this plot point. Now hear me out. Sylux's got beef with the GF, and we know that the game will involve time travel. What if this is Sylosis? And this shot is how the planet looked before the GF came here and destroyed it. What if this is the reason he hates the Galactic Federation so much? Now imagine if Samus and Sylux actually team up at the end, or after hearing his tragic story he gets killed, and that will be the reason for Samus to finally lose all trust for the GF. Okay, maybe I need to calm down. I went full theory crafting here, but hey, if I was right, come back to this video and let me know, alright? You can tell I'm excited for this game, gameplay wise and story wise. We finally live in a world where we saw Metroid Prime 4, and I will be gushing about this game for a long time. So if you want to catch more videos, once again, subscribe and leave a like for my insane theory. See ya.